Okay, so yeah, I'm back and mm, yeah, that was a long break, but let's read for another 30 minutes and practice uh speaking. Now, my plan is not doing this like reading an hour every day. I think is going to burn me out significantly because when I first started reading in the beginning of the year, I read about an hour to 2 hours every day, and that quickly burnt me out. After finishing the first book, um, I was like, I couldn't read anymore for another like 9, 10 days. And then when I started reading another book, I think did the same an hour and a half, 2 hours for about 4 or 5 days until I was like, I can't do this. So I'm gonna keep it very simple. Like I said before, I'm going to keep this as a journal or a self motivation kind of thing as well. And yeah, I'm just gonna see how. So today is the first day. So I just wanted to do an hour just to kind of get myself back up there a little bit, and then starting tomorrow, I'm going to do 30 minutes each day. And some days, if I feel like I want to read a little bit more, then maybe an hour, and very, very maybe an hour and 30 minutes. All right. But yeah, I think I'm going to reread the two paragraphs that I had trouble with before. Never mind. I didn't have trouble with them. That was long ago. All right. I'm just gonna start with this. Yeah, I'm gonna start with two previous paragraphs at the center. In order to write a personal mission statement, we must begin at the very center of our circle of influence. That center composed of our most basic paradigms, the lens through which we see the world. It is here that we deal with our vision and our values. It is here that we use our endowment. Ah, there we go again. Endowment. It is here that we deal with our vision and our values. It is here that we use our endowment and self oh, that we use our endowment of self-awareness to examine our maps and, if we value correct principles, to make certain that our maps accurately describe the territory, that our paradigms are based on principles and reality. It is here that we use our endowment of conscious as a compass to help uh, as a compass to help us detect our own unique talents and areas of contribution. Okay, let me reread that sentence. It is here that we use our endowment of conscious. It is here that we use our endowment of conscious as a compass to help us detect our own language talents, to help us detect our own unique talents and areas of contribution. Okay. It is here that we use our endowment of conscience as a compass to help us detect our own unique talents and areas of contribution. It is here that we use our endowment of imagination to mentally create the end we desire, giving direction and purpose to our beginnings and providing the substance of a written personal constitution. It is also here that our focused efforts achieve the greatest results. As we work within the very center of our circle of influence, we expand it. We expand it. This is highest leverage PC work, significantly impacting the effectiveness of every aspect of our lives. This is highest leverage PC work, significantly impacting the effectiveness of every aspect of our lives. Okay. This is highest leverage PC work, significantly impacting the effectiveness of every aspect of our lives. Whatever is at the center of our life will be the source of our security, guidance, wisdom, and power. Security represents your sense of worth. Se- uh, Security represents your sense of worth, your identity, your emotional anchorage, your self esteem, your basic personal strength or lack of it. Guidance means your source of direction in life, encompassed by your map, your internal frame of reference that interprets for you what is happening out there, are standards or principles or implicit criteria that govern moment by moment decision making and doing. Wisdom is your perspective on life, your sense of balance, your understanding of how the various parts and principles apply and relate to each other. It embraces judgment, discernment, comprehension. It is a gesalt, gesalt. It is a gesalt or oneness, an integrated wholeness. Power is the faculty or capacity to act. Power is a faculty, capacity. Power is the faculty or capacity to act, the strength and potency to accomplish something. It is the vital energy to make choices and decisions. It also includes the capacity to overcome deeply embedded habits and to cultivate higher, more effective ones. These four factors security, guidance, wisdom, and power are interdependent. Security and clear guidance bring true wisdom, and becomes the spark or catalyst to release and direct power. When these four factors are present together, harmonized and enlivened by each other, they create the great force of a noble personality, a balanced character, a beautifully integrated individual, a beautifully integrated individual, a beautifully integrated individual. These life support factors also undergird every other dimension of life, and none of them is an all or nothing matter. The degree of which you have developed each one could be charted somewhere on a continuum, much like the maturity continuum described earlier. At the bottom end, the four factors are weak. You are basically dependent on circumstances or other people, things over which you have no direct control. At the top end, you are in control. You have independent strength and the foundation for rich, interdependent relationships. Your security lies somewhere on the continuum between extreme insecurity on one end, wherein your life is buffeted by all the fickle forces that play upon it, and a deep sense of high intrinsic worth and personal security on the other end. Your guidance ranges on the continuum from dependence on the social mirror or other unstable fluctuating sources to strong inner direction. Your wisdom falls somewhere between a totally inaccurate map where everything is distorted and nothing seems to fit, and a complete and accurate map of life wherein all the parts and principles are properly related to each other. Your power lies somewhere between mobilization or being a puppet pulled by someone else's strings to high productivity, the power to act according to your own values instead of being acted upon by other people and circumstances. The location of these factors on the continuum, the resulting degree of their integration, harmony, and balance, and their positive impact on every aspect of your life are a function of your center, the basic paradigms at your very core. Phew. I gotta tell you, this is difficult. Alternative centers. Each of us has a center, though we usually don't recognize it as such. Neither do we recognize the all encompassing effects of that center on every aspect of our lives. Let's. Alright, hair. Let's briefly examine several factors. Oh, excuse me. Let's briefly examine several centers or core paradigms people typically have for a better understanding of how they affect these four fundamental dimensions and ultimately the sum of life that flows from them. spouse-centeredness. Marriage can be the most intimate, the most satisfying, the most enduring, growth-producing of human relationships. I agree. I've never married, so I don't know, but like I think like ultimately, this is going off topic, right? But ultimately, I personally believe that human beings were born for one purpose only, and that's reproduction, right? Um, for men specifically, the greatest self pleasure that one, and this varies because we're human beings, right? Like we are able to what's the exact self realization? Like we are able to think, we are able to imagine our own world. It's something that I believe only humans can do, right? And because of that, um, we have other means of gaining personal happiness that could match this biological happiness. But I think, we, a man has the happiest moment when, you know, damn, I don't, should I say this on a reading stream? Uh, why not? I already said it. Yeah, so, yeah, orgasm, right? Like men gain greatest happiness because, um, like, why do men masturbate, right? It's to get rid of that. It could be to get rid of that sexual urge, but a lot of people masturbate when they are bored, and it's like, as the book said before, what was it? Where was it? This is a great line. Where is it? La, la, la. I will always try to keep myself free from addictive and destructive habits. It's an addictive and destructive habit. I feel like if you were to do it in a healthy manner, um, like healthy time frame, I think it's fine. But some people do it like several times a day, and I mean like every day. It's not just like a special day. They do it like, yeah, like they go at it for yeah. But what was I saying about reproduction? Oh yeah, like I feel like I not I feel like, excuse me. I believe that like every biological being is born for reproduction, and that's kind of this is getting really off topic, but I'm sure many people have watched the movie Matrix, right? And one of the antagonists, the main antagonist, his name is Agent Smith from the first film. He talks about when he's in a room with Morpheus, when he interrogates Morpheus, he discusses about how human beings are like a virus. I wholeheartedly agree on that, and also I think not just the human beings themselves are a virus. I think human thoughts, the our thought process, our thought process is also a virus. Um, okay, this is getting a little bit too. Okay, I'll just read a book. Okay, this is not good. Okay, this is not good. Okay, where was I? Okay, alternative centers. All right. And the marriage can be the most intimate, the most satisfying, the most enduring, growth producing of human relationships. It might seem natural and proper to be centered on one's husband or wife. Okay. Um, but experience and observation tell a different story. Over the years, I have been involved in working with many troubled marriages, and I have observed a certain thread weaving itself through almost every spouse-centered relationship I have encountered. That thread is strong emotional dependence. That thread is strong emotional dependence. Emotional dependence. If our sense of emotional worth comes primarily from our marriage, then we become highly dependent. Then we become highly dependent. Highly, highly, highly. then we become highly dependent upon that relationship. We become vulnerable to the moods and feelings. Vulnerable to the moods and feelings, feelings and feelings, and feelings, feelings, feelings. We become vulnerable to the moods and feelings, the behavior and treatment of our spouse, or to any external event that may impinge on the relationship. A new child, in laws, economic setbacks, social successes, and so forth. I think my camera just glitched, and I have to get a new webcam because of that. When responsibilities increase and stresses come in, or I'll just record on my phone, I don't know. When responsibilities increase and stresses come in the marriage, we tend to revert to the scripts we were given as we were growing up. But so does our spouse. And those scripts are usually different. Different ways of handling financial, child discipline, or in law issues come to the surface. When these deep seated tendencies combine with the emotional dependency in the marriage, the spouse centered relationship reveals all its vulnerability. When we are dependent on the person with whom we are in conflict, both need and conflict are compounded. Love hate overreactions, fight or flight tendencies, withdrawal, aggressiveness, bitterness, resentment, and cold competition are some of the usual results. When these occur, we tend to fall even further back. We tend to fall even further back on background tendencies and habits in an effort to justify and defend our own behavior, and we attack our spouses. Inevitably, anytime we are too vulnerable, we feel the need to protect ourselves from further wounds. So we resort to sarcasm, cutting humor, criticism, anything that will keep from exposing the tenderness within. Yep. Each partner tends to wait on the initiative of the other for love, only to be disappointed but also confirmed as to the rightness of the accusations made. There is only phantom security in such a relationship when all appears to be going well. Guidance is based on the emotion of the moment. Wisdom and power are lost in the counter-dependent negative interactions. Family centeredness. Another common center is the family. This too may seem to be natural and proper. As an area of focus and deep investment, it provides great opportunities for deep relationships, for loving, for sharing, for much that makes life worthwhile. But as a center, it ironic, but as a center, but as a center, as a center, but as a center, it ironically destroys the very elements necessary to family success. To family success. 이거 안 되네. To family success. To family success. But as a center, it ironically destroys the very elements necessary to family success. People who are family centered get their sense of security or personal worth from the family tradition or culture. From the family tradition and culture or the family reputation. Thus, they become vulnerable to any changes in that tradition or culture and to any influences that would affect that reputation. Family centered parents do not have the emotional freedom, the power to raise their children with their ultimate welfare truly in mind. If they derive their own security from the family, their need to be popular with their children may override the importance of a long term investment in their children's growth and development. Or they may be focused on the proper and incorrect or they may be focused on the proper and correct behavior or of the moment. Correct behavior of the moment. Any behavior that they consider improper threatens their security. They become upset, guided by the emotions of the moment, spontaneously reacting to the immediate concern rather than the long-term growth and development of the child. They may yell or scream. They may overreact and punish out of bad temper. They tend to love their children unconditionally, making them emotionally dependent or counter-dependent and rebellious. Interesting. Money centeredness. Another logical and extremely common center to people's lives is making money. economic security is basic to one's opportunity to do much in any other dimension. In a hierarchy or continuum of needs, physical survival and financial security come first. Other needs are not even activated until that basic need is satisfied, at least minimally. Most of us face economic worries. Many forces in the wider culture can and do act upon our economic situation, causing or threatening such disruption that we often experience concern and worry that we may not always rise to the conscious surface. Yep. Sometimes there are apparently noble reasons given for making money, such as the desire to take care of one's family. And these things are important, but to focus on money making as a center will bring about its own undoing. Consider again the four life support factors: security, guidance, wisdom, and power. Suppose I derive much of my security from my employment or from my income or net worth. Since many factors affect these economic foundations, I become anxious and uneasy. I become anxious and uneasy, protective and defensive about anything that may affect them. Oh, my head hurts. Wow, this is hard. Wait, alright, hang on. Give me 1 second, guys. Wait, hang on. 1 second. Oh my god. I have a headband on, and I think that was just pressing down on my skull. Oh my goodness, that hurts. Oh my god. Okay. This thing. What was this thing? Okay. Can y'all hear that? Okay, sorry about that. That was not funny. Okay. Consider again the four life support factors: security, guidance, wisdom, and power. Suppose I derive much of my security from my employment or from my income or net worth. Since many factors affect these economic situations, ah, since many factors affect these economic foundations, I become anxious and uneasy, protective and defensive about anything that may affect them. When my sense of personal worth comes from my net worth, I am vulnerable to anything that will affect that net worth. But work and power per se provide no wisdom, no guidance, and only a limited degree of power and security. All it takes to show the limitations of a money center is a crisis in my life or in the life of a loved one. No. Yeah, I very much agree with this. Um, I lost a lot of money recently, uh, because I decided to get into cryptocurrency, and yeah, I lost a lot of money, like a lot. I realized I learned one very uh pivotal lesson in life is that you shouldn't mess with money, like you shouldn't gamble. Money-centered people often put aside family or other priorities, assuming everyone will understand that economic demands come first. I know one father who was leaving with his children for a promised trip to the circus when a phone call came for him to come to work instead. He declined. When his wife suggested that perhaps he should have gone to work, he responded, "The work will come again, but childhood won't." That's a great dad. That's a oh. Hmm. For the rest of their lives, his children remembered this little act of priority setting, not only as an object lesson in their minds, but as an expression of love in their hearts. Yeah. Work centeredness. Work centered people may become workaholics, driving themselves to produce at the sacrifice of health, relationships, and other important areas of their lives. Their fundamental identity comes from their work. I'm a doctor. I'm a writer. I'm an actor. Because their identity and sense of self-worth are wrapped up in their work, their security is vulnerable to anything that happens to prevent them from continuing in it. Huh? Their guidance is a function of the demands of the work. Their wisdom and power come in the limited areas of their work, rendering them ineffective in other areas of life. Huh? Wait a minute, I don't get this. Why? Does that make sense? Oh, I'm saying this because I need a place of belonging. That's my loved one, by the way. Not loved one, excuse me. What am I saying? That's my. That's. She's a family, a very important family member. I don't know how loud her barking is, but hopefully it's not too loud. Possession centeredness. A driving force of many people is possessions, not only tangible, material possessions, such as fashionable clothes, homes, cars, boats, and jewelry, but also but also the intangible possessions of fame, glory, or social prominence. Most of us are aware, through our own experience, how singularly flawed such a center is, simply because it can vanish rapidly, and it is influenced by so many forces. If my sense of security lies in my reputation or in the things I have, my life will be a my life will be in a constant state of threat and jeopardy that these possessions may be lost or stolen or devalued. If I'm in the presence of someone greater, oh, excuse me, if I'm in the presence of someone of greater net worth or fame or status, I feel inferior. If I'm in the presence of someone of lesser net worth or fame or status, I feel superior. My sense of self worth constantly fluctuates. I don't have any sense of constancy or anchorage or persistent selfhood. I'm constantly trying to protect and ensure my assets, properties, securities, position, or reputation. We have all heard stories of people committing suicide after losing their fortunes in a significant stock decline or their fame in a political reversal. Yeah. So this is uh oh my god, I gotta stop doing this. This is so bad. um so recently in Korea there was a murder uh because there was this uh cryptocurrency crash, and three murderers, they murdered this woman. I actually that's sorry, forget whatever I said. I'm not entirely sure. I know the cause was due to cryptocurrency crash and internal conflict, but I don't know how it's specifically connected. I think, yeah, actually I'm not gonna, sorry, my bad, I'm not gonna speak on on the things that I don't, yeah, that's foolish. But I think this really it hits hard, especially now in our age. It's something because um yeah, it's identity. It's identity. If I could give one very important example, obviously it's net worth, right? Money wise, like financially, if you see a guy on the same bar and he's rocking a very expensive watch that you yourself know you won't be able to afford in a very long time, because you need the security, stability, financial stability to afford something like that, right? You get envious, but that envy can also turn into insecurity. You know, that guy has more money than me. He's I'm jealous. I feel inferior. I have no money. Um, and that's financially that's something that's financially um speaking. But physically, I think for a lot of guys, it has to be appearance, like physical appearance. Um, what's the most Koreans love doing this. It's height, right? If you stand next to someone who is significantly taller than you, you're like, well, I feel inferior. Why do you feel inferior? Because you don't have that security. You don't you're you feel like someone other people are kind of like judging you, you know, like other kinds of other people who may be looking at you and the guy next to you are thinking about, wow, that guy is so tall, or that guy is so short. Yeah, it's a sad. I don't know. I think it's just not a good. Like I don't know. Yeah, I hate lookism. Um, yeah, kind of says. Actually, no. What am I saying? Okay. Let's continue reading. Pleasure centeredness. Another common center, closely allied, closely allied with possessions, is that of fun and pleasure. We live in a world where instant gratification is available and encouraged. So freaking important. TikTok, hello. Back in back in the like 10 years ago, what was it? Vine, I think. Yeah, Vine. But Vine wasn't as big as how big TikTok is, because a lot of because smartphones back then weren't as um super developed, and I believe a lot of countries didn't really have access to YouTube and other social media websites. In general, a lot of parts of the world were not connected. But now, like, TikTok is I have nothing. Actually, no, I do. I'm against a lot of I'm against a lot of social media sites, and this is actually one of the reasons why. Actually, sorry, I'll just stick with reading. But I'm not an avid fan of TikTok. Um, because it's personally speaking, I think it's a very dangerous uh dangerous habit. Instant gratification. It's it's so sweet. It's like it's like that delicious can of soda after hard labor on a summer's day. You know, like water is good, but yeah, I hope I don't want to yeah I don't want to go too deep into it, but yeah. Instant gratification. We live in a world where instant gratification is available and encouraged. Television and movies are major influences in increasing people's expectations. They graphically portray what other people have and can do in living the life of ease and fun. But while the glitter of pleasure-centered lifestyles is graphically portrayed, The natural result of such lifestyles, lifestyles, of such lifestyles. Okay. But while the glitter, of pleasure-centered lifestyles is graphically portrayed, the natural result of such lifestyles, the impact on the inner person, on productivity, on relationships, is seldom accurately seen. Innocent pleasures in moderation can provide relaxation for the body and mind and can foster family and other relationships. But pleasure per se offers no deep, lasting satisfaction or sense of fulfillment. The pleasure-centered person, too soon bored with each succeeding level of fun, constantly cries for more and more. So the next new pleasure has to be bigger and better, more exciting, with a bigger high. A person in this state becomes almost entirely narcissistic, interpreting all of life in terms of the pleasure it provides to the self here and now. Too many vacations that last too long, too many movies, too much TV, too much video game playing, too much undisciplined leisure time in which a person continually takes the course of too much undisciplined leisure time in which a person continually takes the course of least resistance gradually wastes a life. This is really important. It ensures that a person's capacity it ensures that a person's capacities stay dormant, that talents remain undeveloped, that the mind and spirit become lethargic, and that the heart is unfulfilled. Where is the security, the guidance, the wisdom, and the power? At the low end of the continuum, in the pleasure of a fleeting moment. Malcolm Muggeridge writes in a 20th century testimony. Testosterone. What am I reading, man? When I look back on my life nowadays, which I sometimes do, what strikes me most forcibly about it is that what seemed at the time most significant and seductive seems now most futile and absurd. For instance, success in all of its various guises, being known and being praised, ostensible pleasures like acquiring money or seducing women or traveling, going to and fro in the world and up and down in it like Satan, explaining and experiencing whatever Vanity Fair has to offer. In retrospect, all these exercises in self-gratification seem pure fantasy, what Pascal called licking the earth. Friend and enemy centeredness. Young people are particularly, though certainly not exclusively, susceptible to becoming friend-centered. Acceptance and belonging to a peer group acceptance and belonging to a peer group can become almost supremely important. The distorted and ever-changing social mirror becomes a source for the four life support factors, creating a high degree of dependence on the fluctuating moods, feelings, attitudes, and behavior of others. Friend-centeredness can also focus exclusively on one person, taking on some of the decisions of marriage. The emotional dependence on one individual, the escalating need, conflict spiral, and the resulting negative interactions can grow out of a friend-centeredness. And what about putting an enemy at the center of one's life? Most people would never think of it, and probably no one would ever do it consciously. Nevertheless, enemy centering is very common, particularly when there is frequent interaction between people who are in real conflict. When someone feels he has been unjustly dealt with by an emotionally or socially significant person, it is very easy for him to become preoccupied with the injustice and make the other person the center of his life, rather than proactively leading his own life. This enemy-centered person is counter-dependently reacting to the behavior and attitudes of a perceived enemy. I very much agree on this because um I like to put my recently I started doing a lot of commenting on YouTube, on social media sites, YouTube, Reddit, right? And whenever there were comments that were just saying I was, flat wrong, I didn't know what the hell I was saying, and that I was like dumb. I was like not educated. What other? Okay, those are like the general ones, right? I kept like the insults are honestly nothing, right? But for some reason, I was more irritated on the. I was very narcissistic. Now I am able to reflect on this. I was thinking like, yo, like these insults are not bad. Like, but like, why am I so triggered? And that was because I realized that it wasn't the insults. It was like, how dare this person like, I was like, I was already thinking that everyone else was kind of like lower than me. I was like saying, how dare this person, go against my word? Like, how dare this person say this? Like, I know, like, I already in the back of my head, even without me realizing it, I was thinking I know about this subject more than what this person is telling me. And when I kind of uh like walked into that paradigm of realizing my own insecurity and my faults, I I was it was like what do you call it, like that moment. I was like, oh, that's probably why. Because whenever I received those responses, I thought about them like I thought about them like for the rest of the day. Like it would just kind of like just ruin my mood. I'd be like, what the heck, man? It would stick with me for the entire day, but then the next day I would kind of forget about it, or I would just say, oh yeah, that happened. But like I realized that I never actually learned from it because every time that would happen, I would take it like that. So it's obviously not something that I can fix immediately, but I'm very happy. You know, reading this book kind of helped me kind of think about new paradigms, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm kind of happy that I started reading again because honestly speaking, I don't think I would have realized this if I didn't start reading again. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna read a few more paragraphs, maybe like for like another minute or two. There's two paragraphs left. Yeah. One friend of mine who taught at a university became very distraught because of the weaknesses of a particular administration administrator with whom he had a negative relationship. He allowed himself to think about the man constantly until eventually it became an obsession. It so preoccupied him that it affected the quality of his relationships with his family, his church, and his working associates. He finally came to the conclusion that he had to leave the university and accept a teaching appointment somewhere else. Wouldn't you really prefer to teach at this university if the man were not here? I asked him. Yes, I would, he responded, but as long as he is here, then my staying is too disruptive to everything in life. I have to go. Why have you made this administrator the center of your life? I asked him. Yeah. That's honestly speaking, if I was asked that question, I probably denial and anger would probably come first. And I think that's what he did, right? He was shocked, yeah. He was shocked by that question. He denied it. But I pointed out to him that he was allowing one individual and his weaknesses to distort his entire map of life, to undermine his faith and the quality of his relationships with his loved ones. He finally admitted that this individual had such an impact on him, but he denied that he himself had made all these choices. He attributed the responsibility for the unhappy situation to the administrator. He himself, he declared, was not responsible. As we talked little by little, he came to realize that he was indeed responsible, but that because he did not handle this responsibility well, he was being irresponsible. So, 뭐야, 어디 갔어? 이거 뭐야? 깜짝이야. Oh my god. Oh my god. I thought freaking video got deleted. Jesus. Well, anyways. Okay. Anyways, I think so this part ends with, as we talked little by little, he came to realize that he was indeed responsible, but that because he did not handle this responsibility well, he was being irresponsible. I think what the author wanted to say, the author talks about this, right? The author talks about how we are able to take things in a different manner. You know, when you're walking about on the street and a guy randomly kind of like hits you, you know, like he shoulder bumps you. You have the choice of thinking about that instead of, because if anyone were to hit you, like if anyone were to kind of shoulder bump you, and you were like like that, right? The first thing a lot of people will resort to is anger, like what the you know what I mean? But what the author here is saying, you also have the choice to how to accept it. Maybe you were walking a little bit, you know, maybe you weren't walking. What do you call it? Like you weren't aware of your surroundings well, or maybe yeah. So maybe it was your own fault, or maybe you were able to avoid it. Maybe you had the chance to avoid it. But even if it wasn't quote unquote your fault, you know, your responsibility, you also have the option of okay, that kind of happens, sucks. Okay, it's whatever. You know, like kind of like don't. It's about like the idea of not taking it, like not immediately brushing it into an expected reaction. Because if unless like you were getting, you know, like unless someone like actually actively punches you or something, I think that's a very different story. But when two people are walking on the same street, and they kind of bump into each other, because that sense of stability, and you were disrupted by that force. The first thing that could be perceived is anger. What the author is trying to say is that you have a choice not to be angry, not to be reactive. And that's why I think he kept saying that he did came to realize that he was indeed responsible, but it wasn't for the right intentions. He probably wanted his friend to learn on himself that he had the choice of how the administrator, the relationship with the administrator, how to perceive that. I think that's what he was trying to say. Okay, anyways, I think that was I ended up talking a lot more than I expected on this video. This is fun. This is actually very fun. Yeah, this is fun. I like this a lot. Not the book, but just doing this. I'll be back tomorrow. I can't do it tonight, even though I kind of want to, because I have to do other responsibilities. All right. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.